Hey everyone, and welcome to another Ready in Minutes workout. Today we've got an intermediate single arm kettlebell workout that focuses on having you build from the ground up and then back down. To get the most out of this circuit, I recommend you do it as a complex, so unbroken, every exercise one after the other. However, if you feel like you're losing stability or the integrity of what you're doing is compromised, please do take a break and resume when you're ready. All right, so from the ground up, let's break each part of that sequence down bit by bit. So the first thing we're doing is a floor press. So you wanna start it the same way you would as a Turkish get-up, because in the next part, you will be doing a Turkish get-up on the way up. And you wanna press your arm to lock out and then bring it back down to the ground until it makes contact with the floor. Now, when it makes contact with the floor, you don't want your elbow to crash into the floor, rather, a soft bump to let you know the floor is there, and then you press back out to lock out. The one thing to really watch out for here is having your elbow go out too far to the side. The further the kettlebell gets away from your body, the more it's going to weigh. So you want to keep the kettlebell relatively close to your body, 45 degrees-ish, as you press out and then bring it back down. Once you finish your last rep here, you're gonna roll right into your Turkish get-up, and you're gonna do the first part of it all the way up to the top. Now, what you wanna keep in mind here is that this is weighted yoga, so you do not want to rush the Turkish get-up. It is as much a stability exercise as it is a strength one. So take your time, don't rush to the top, and make sure you have control over each part of the movement. What I like to tell people is take a breath at each stop of the Turkish get-up. And what I mean by that is when you roll onto your forearm, take a breath. When you squash, take a breath. When you sweep, take a breath, and so on and so forth. All right, so you finish your Turkish get-up. The next thing we have is an overhead press into a windmill. So you're gonna guide the bell back to the rack. You're gonna press it to lock out. You're then gonna pivot on your feet in the opposite direction of the bell. So the right arm's overhead, the feet are pivoted to the left. The left leg is bent, the right leg is straight. I'm gonna place my left hand, right hip, push into it, and hinge and rotate. Now you'll see my front leg is still bent, my back leg is still straight, I've got my eye on the bell, and I make my way back up to lockout. Then I re-pivot my feet, bring the bell down, press it out, pivot, and repeat. All right, after the last rep here, we're gonna guide it back to the rack, and we're gonna do a swing, high pull, and snatch for 5 reps. So, one swing, one high pull, one snatch. Snatch down, one swing, one high pull, one snatch. The thing to keep in mind here is that you're going to be modifying the arc dynamically. So you're gonna have the biggest arc on the swing, a smaller arc on the high pull, and the smallest arc on the snatch. And so what I mean by that is you'll see this is the arc of your swing. This is the arc of your high pull. And this should be the arc of your snatch. So this is an excellent chance to work on your technique and see the difference in each one of these power or ballistic exercises. All right, after you finish that, we've got a single arm racked front squat. So we squat down to the bottom, stable, upright, make your way back up to the top, squeeze your glutes. Once you're done with your reps here, get the arm back up to lockout and reverse your get up. So with your free hand, tap the leg, make your way back down, open the hip, chop it, walk it out, sweep on out, unsquash, and back down to the ground. Guide the bell back down. And that's all there is to it. All right, guys, now let's go through it 2 times to each side together. All right, guys, for the start of round 1, we're gonna do our floor press for 6 reps on our first side. So, keep it at lockout and let's roll into our Turkish get up. Squash, sweep, and lunge to the top. Okay, now that we're here, we're gonna bring it to the rack position. Press to lockout, pivot the feet, and windmill for 1. Pivot the feet, bring it back down, press out for 2. And 1 more rep for 5. All right, let's bring it back to the rack. 1 swing, 1 high pull, 1 snatch. For 1. 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 5. Okay, back to the rack just for your squat. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Press it out to lockout. Tap the free leg, or tap the leg with the free hand. Open up, chop, walk it out, sweep, unsquash, and down to the ground. Bring the bell down. And that's the end of side 1. All right, moving into side 2. Let's sit up on our side, both hands on the bell, rock onto our back, Turkish get up position, starting position, and press out to lockout. Right, our first rep starts now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, keep the bell at lockout. Let's roll onto our forearm. Squash, sweep, hinge, pivot, and lunge to the top. Okay, now we are going to guide to the rack. Press out to lockout, pivot the feet, and for 1. Pivot, press into the hip, rotate for 2. And 3. And 4. And 5. All right, One swing, one high pull, one snatch. Three, three, three. Five, five. Okay, bring it back to the rack and front squat for 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Press it to lockout. With the free hand, tap the leg, big step back, open the hip, chop it, walk it out, sweep one out, unsquash, and down to the ground. Bring the bell down safely, and get back on your side. All right, that's the end of round 1. Let's get right after round 2. All right, back to our first side. Here we go. Let's set up on our side, both hands on the bell. We rock onto our back and set the bell up at lockout. Turkish get-up position and down. Back up for 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Keep it at lockout and let's roll onto our forearm. Squash, sweep, hinge, pivot, and lunge to the top. Okay, now into the rack, press it out, pivot on the feet, push into the hip for our first windmill. Unpivot, back to the rack. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, back to the rack. 1 swing, 1 high pull, 1 snatch for 5. Okay, guide it back to the rack. Squat for 1. And 5. Press out to lockout. Tap the leg. Open up. Chop. Walk it out. Keep one out. Squash. And down. Bring it down safely. And finish back on your side. All right, one side left. Let's finish strong. All right, here we go. Last set, best set. Let's set up on our side. Both hands on the bell. Rock onto our back. Set the bell up at lockout. Arm at the side. First rep. 1. 4, 5, and 6. All right, keep it at lockout. Let's roll onto our forearm. Squash, sweep, hinge, pivot, and lunge to the top. Okay, let's bring it back to the rack. Press out for lockout, pivot, push into the hip. 1. 2. 3. 4 and 5. All right, back to the rack. One swing, one high pull, one snatch. Two. 4 and 5. Okay, got it back to the rack, adjust your stance, squat for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Press to lockout. Tap the leg, big step back, open up, chop the hip and walk it out. Sweep one out, unsquash, and down to the ground. Guide the bell down safely and finish back on your side. And that's it, you're done. All right guys, you did it. This one has everything you need. Stability, mobility, strength, lower body, upper body, conditioning. Everything in this 5-step sequence encompasses all those things. If you choose to do this as a complex, there's a lot of pressing and overhead stability and strength that you need. So as I mentioned before, if you feel like you're getting tired and you can't sustain what you're doing, please take a break and resume when you're ready. Over time, you will build the endurance and the conditioning to be able to do this. But otherwise, as usual, let me know how much you love it or hate it and what the hardest part is for you and if you have any trouble with it. So that's it for today, and we'll see you guys real soon on the next one. Stay strong.